Dare to discover the truth that could end the Bears in 2026. The front office is playing with fire. While the offensive coordinator plans a radical shift that would leave a hero out and a rookie carrying Caleb's future, the NFL stabs us by finding the only machine protecting our QB. And wait for this! A ghost from the practice squad leads the pass rush, but it's a trap hiding million-dollar mistakes. Ready for the ride? Subscribe today because this isn't just a game, it's war! Do you think Poles is hiding something? Folks, I need your full attention because what I'm about to tell you will completely change the way you see the Bears season. Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame isn't just another college prospect. This guy is the answer Ben Johnson is desperately seeking to solve Chicago's biggest problem right now. The lack of an explosive running back who can turn the game at any moment. You know what drives me crazy about this situation? Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator we all expected to transform our attack, is identifying problems we hadn't fully considered. The guy just came from Detroit, where he had one of the most dominant rushing attacks in the league, and now he's looking at DeAndre Swift and thinking, this won't be enough for what I need to do with Caleb Williams. And Swift, as much as he had decent moments against Minnesota, doesn't have the breakaway speed Love naturally possesses. Every time Love touches the ball at Notre Dame, there's a real chance he goes all the way to the end zone. Swift is solid, Swift is consistent, but Swift isn't the kind of runner that makes defenses completely change their scheme, fearing an 80-yard run. But here comes what really worries me about all this. We're betting our immediate future on Kyle Monangai, a 7th-round rookie, and Roschon Johnson, who in 3 years hasn't shown anything in this league. In what parallel universe is that a solid plan for a supposedly competitive team? Monangai might be a decent runner, might have potential, but when Ben Johnson is designing plays to maximize the talent of Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and Keenan Allen, he needs a running back that complements that explosiveness. Love isn't just fast. The guy has the vision, patience, and ability to break tackles, making him a triple threat on every snap. CBS Sports projects. The Bears will use their first-round pick in 2026 on Love, and I'm telling you, after years of failed defensive picks, we finally have an organization that understands offensive power wins championships in the modern NFL. Williams at quarterback, Odunze at receiver, Loveland at tight end, and now potentially Love at running back. That's an offensive core that can dominate the league for a decade. But the part that really excites me is the financial flexibility with Swift. The guy only represents $1.3 million. In dead money if we cut him, but keeping him would cost over $8 million. Ryan Poles already has the calculator in hand, crunching numbers, and I believe he's made up his mind. Swift was a temporary patch while we developed Caleb, but Love would be the long-term solution. And you know what tells me this is real and not just speculation? The way Johnson is using Swift right now. He's not overloading him, not exposing him to unnecessary hits, preserving him while evaluating what's truly needed from the position. It's the strategy of a coordinator who knows he'll have different options next year. Love has everything Johnson needs for his system. Speed for the outside runs, power for short yardage situations, soft hands to come out of the backfield on passing downs, and the football intelligence to read blocks and find holes other runners don't see. At Notre Dame, he's averaging over 6 yards per carry, and that's no accident. The comparison with Ashton Jeanty is inevitable, and I believe Love has the potential to be even better. Jeanty was dominant at Boise State, but Love is doing the same at Notre Dame, against Big Ten defenses consistently more physical and better prepared. When Love declares for the draft, he'll be the #1 running back in his class, no doubt. But you know what question really burns me inside? If Ryan Poles is so sure Love is the answer, why wasn't there a bigger effort to get an elite running back this season? Are they that convinced they can survive another year with Swift and Monangai while waiting for Love? The truth is, Johnson is working with the pieces he has, but I believe he's mentally designing the future offense with Love as the centerpiece of the running game. And folks, if that vision becomes reality, the Bears will have one of the most explosive attacks Chicago has seen in decades. This has me absolutely furious, and I need you to understand why what just happened to Cole Kmet is much more than a simple fine of $17,389. What we're witnessing here is a direct attack on the way the Bears are trying to establish a physical identity under the new regime of Matt Eberflus and Ben Johnson. Cole Kmet. our star tight end, the guy that's supposed to be one of the most important connections for Caleb Williams, just received the third highest fine of all week 1 for a play that wasn't even flagged during the game. How on earth does that make sense? The referees, supposedly trained professionals to identify fouls in real time, saw nothing wrong with the play, but the league decides days later it deserves almost $18,000 in punishment. And do you know why Kmet was making that play? Because he was blocking for DeAndre Swift, doing the dirty work elite tight ends do to protect their running backs and establish a physical mentality. Kmet wasn't trying to hurt anyone. He was competing at the level required in the NFL, but apparently the league has a problem with that. The specific play was labeled as unnecessary roughness for a leg whip with 9 minutes 46 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter. A leg whip that, I repeat, wasn't obvious enough for the refs to call during the game. Only 2 players in the entire league received higher fines. Jacorian Bennett from the Eagles with $23,186 for a hip drop tackle, and obviously Jalen Carter with his $57,222 fine for the spitting scandal. But here's what really bothers me. Noah Sewell also received a $6,174 fine for a hip drop tackle in the third quarter that also wasn't penalized during the game. 2 Bears players fined for plays the referees considered legal at the time. Doesn't that seem strange to you? You know what this tells me? The league is sending a specific message to the Bears. You won't play physical without consequences. And that worries me because the identity Eberflus tries to build is based precisely on being more physical, more aggressive, more intimidating than in previous years. Kmet is fundamental to this transformation. The guy is 6 feet 6 inches tall, weighs 260 pounds, but also has the hands and speed to be a threat in the passing game. When blocking on running plays, he sets the physical tone Johnson needs for his offense to work. If Kmet starts playing with fear because of these ridiculous fines, it will directly affect not just his performance, but the mentality of the entire team. And what message are we sending Caleb Williams? Our rookie quarterback needs to know he has a tight end who will fight for every yard, protect him in pass protection, make the tough plays when the game is on the line. If Kmet is worried about getting fined for playing physically, how will he have the confidence needed to make those crucial plays? The situation becomes even more frustrating considering the timing. We're in week 2, trying to build chemistry between Williams and his main targets, and now one of those targets is dealing with the distraction of a controversial fine. Johnson is trying to implement a system that requires precision and confidence, but the league is creating doubts where none should exist. But you know what really bothers me about all this? The league's total inconsistency. We see much more obvious plays, much more dangerous hits, much more unsportsmanlike conduct that doesn't receive fines. But Kmet blocking for Swift deserves almost $18,000 in punishment. It's like there's a different standard for different teams. And the Bears clearly aren't getting the benefit of the doubt. Kmet has been working all offseason to be the tight end this organization needs. He's improved his route running, worked on his chemistry with Williams, added more power to his blocking. But now he has to worry about whether his natural aggressiveness will result in more fines and distractions. My question for the organization is this: will they publicly defend Kmet, or will they let the league establish this precedent? Because if they allow this to happen without protest, they're sending the message that it's okay to fine their players for playing with the intensity the Bears are supposed to embody. Folks, you need to understand what's really happening with Tonaka Passignon being elevated from the practice squad for the second consecutive week. Because this isn't just a story of a player seizing his chance. This is the clearest evidence that our pass rush has serious problems Ryan Poles doesn't want to admit publicly. K. Passignon, coming off 4 years with Kansas City and another 4 with the Saints, is being used as an emergency solution that's becoming much more permanent than anyone wants to acknowledge. The guy played 13 defensive snaps and 3 special teams plays against Minnesota, and in those 13 snaps recorded 2 tackles, a sack, and 2 hits on the quarterback. His hits and sacks led the team that week. Do you realize what that means? A practice squad player who less than 2 weeks ago wasn't even on the active roster was our best pass rusher in the victory against the Vikings. Montez Sweat, signed to a multi-million-dollar contract to be our star edge rusher, was outshined by a guy the Chiefs and Saints deemed expendable. And it's not that Passignon is bad. The guy has experience, knows the league, knows how to generate pressure. But the fact we rely on him to lead our pass rush stats tells me something is fundamentally wrong with our original depth chart. Dayo Odeyingbo had a decent debut against Minnesota, that's true. But decent isn't enough when you have Aaron Rodgers waiting for you next Sunday. Austin Booker will soon return from injured reserve, which should help. But can we really trust a rookie to be a key piece in our pass rush? The situation complicates further when considering other moves this week. Xavier Carlton, the undrafted rookie defensive lineman from the practice squad, was placed on injured reserve to make room. That means we're losing depth while relying more on players like K. Passagnon. Jake Moody, the former 49ers kicker, was signed to the practice squad after San Francisco cut him. That tells me two things. First, the Bears aren't completely confident in our current kicking game. And second, they're preparing for all possible contingencies. Jade Walker, being ruled out for Sunday with an ankle injury, only adds more pressure to a roster already juggling too many variables. Walker had been listed as doubtful, but is now officially out, meaning fewer options in the receiving core and more responsibility for players who might not be fully ready. But you know what really worries me about the K. Passagnon situation? That Ryan Poles is using his success as justification not to invest significant resources in the pass rush. If a practice squad player can lead our quarterback pressure stats, why spend money in free agency or use high draft picks on edge rushers? That mentality is exactly the kind of thinking that has kept the Bears mediocre for years. Finding a temporary solution and convincing oneself is a long-term answer. K. Passagnon can be effective in specific situations, but building a championship caliber defense around practice squad players is a recipe for disaster. The reality is we need K. Passagnon to keep producing while Sweat finds his rhythm and Booker fully recovers from his injury. But we also need to recognize we rely too much on players other organizations didn't consider valuable enough to keep on their active rosters. Matt Eberflus is doing the best he can with the pieces he has, but I think he's secretly worried about the lack of real depth in the pass rush. They can generate pressure in specific situations, but what happens when we face teams with elite offensive lines that can neutralize our main pass rushers? Kepa Sagnon's elevation for a second consecutive week tells me the coaches trust him, but also tells me they don't have many other options. And that lack of options can become a massive problem as the season progresses and injuries start piling up. Chicago fans, we just analyzed 3 stories that could define the immediate future of our Bears. The question about Jeremiah Love. Do you believe the Bears should use their 2026 first-round pick on a running back? Or do we need to keep building the defense? The Cole Kmet situation. Are you worried these fines will affect his aggressiveness on the field, or do you think he needs to better control his emotions? And the K. Passagnon issue. Do you feel we rely too much on the practice squad? Or are you happy we finally have depth in the pass rush? This is our community. This is our Bears family. Each of you watching this video knows what it means to bleed navy blue and orange. For years we've suffered together, celebrated together. And now we're at a crucial moment where every decision can change this franchise's destiny. If you believe Poles is making the right moves to build a real contender, leave a like. If you think we're repeating past mistakes, also leave a like and tell me why in the comments. And if you want to continue being part of this family that analyzes every Bears move with the passion Chicago deserves, subscribe to the channel because we'll have more explosive news tomorrow. Don't forget, we're more than subscribers. We're a family united by the love for the Bears. Bear down, Chicago!